Unit Test 10. Listening.
As I understand it, drilling is a method used by language teachers in which the teacher utters a word or phrase they would like the students to learn and they then repeat it.
Yes, that's correct. It's a listen and repeat technique, and the teacher's role is to listen out for any issues with pronunciation, intonation or word stress and correct them.
Andy, you're a fan of this technique, while Liz, you're against it. Andy, tell us why you support drilling.
Many of the students I teach are living in the UK and are learning English as a foreign language. A number of the students I teach are from Asia, and in the UK, people often struggle to understand them when they speak, as they mispronounce words because their own language is so different. They often have a great command of the English language and can read, write and understand perfectly well, but their pronunciation, unfortunately, makes them at times incomprehensible. Therefore, through drilling key words and phrases, their pronunciation can be greatly improved, which in turn leads them to being understood in the real world.
OK, thanks, Andy. So, Liz, what's your point of view?
Well, I've taught in Italy for years, and I've seen devastating effects of this technique. In one instance, I was in a social situation when I got talking to a man who, when he realised I was English, started reeling off phrases that he knew in the language. I was, at first, quite impressed. His pronunciation and intonation were almost perfect. Once he had finished regurgitating his repertoire of expressions, I asked him about his experience learning English. But unbelievably, he didn't understand a word of what I was saying. He just answered my questions with other phrases that he knew. Initially, I thought it was my accent, and so I asked him another question, this time slowly and articulating every word. "What do you usually do in your free time?" He looked at me, and for a second I thought he had understood me, but then he responded with something completely unrelated. He told me that he had worked for his company for 3 years and then listed the reasons why he wanted to leave.
That's strange. What had happened?
Well, unable to communicate with him in English, we switched to Italian, and I discovered that he had attended a 2-week intensive course at a language academy on how to pass an interview. He had seen the job advertised online for a position that required fluent English, and desperate for the job, he forged his CV to match the job requirements. And when called to set a date for an interview, they asked him if he would mind the interview being conducted in English. He panicked and joined this academy that promised fluency in 2 weeks. The course literally taught him how to answer, in detail, every single interview question possible.
Did he have any previous knowledge of the English language?
Well, that's it. He knew a few words, but he had never formally studied it. During the course, the teachers didn't give him any grammar or vocabulary. They just fed him phrases and, at times, whole conversations. It was all about listening and repeating.
OK, but this is an extreme case of drilling. I think when used in moderation, it can be a positive thing.
Perhaps you're right. But so often teachers overuse this technique.
So my question is, did the guy get the job?
I couldn't believe it, but he did. And now he's going to have to speak English in meetings. I think he's going to find it a real struggle.